As an anxious nation watched the televised committee hearings, it heard Howard Baker ask his now famous question.
What did the president know, and when did he know it?
As Americans contemplate the culpability of President Trump, it will be important to keep these sentiments from Republican Senator Baker in mind.
It was in that spirit that we worked together. We understood that there were some things that were more important than gaining immediate partisan advantage.
The reality of it is that the people who were in contact with the president, the Secretary of State Pompeo, Mick Mulvaney's chief of staff, they're not allowed to talk, or at least the White House has told them not to talk. There's also Rudy Giuliani. He's a private attorney. I don't know if he's under the same obligation. Yesterday, Hill, a former White House national security advisor, and Holmes, a State Department staffer, spoke about the Trump administration's pressure campaign on Ukraine. Both Hill and Holmes said that they were aware that an investigation into the Ukrainian gas company Burisma meant an investigation into former Vice President Joe Biden and his son Hunter.
2 weeks, 12 witnesses, and one basic story.
It was inappropriate.
I found the July 25th phone call unusual.
Was there a quid pro quo? The answer is yes.
They said the Ukrainians were told again and again that President Zelensky would not get a meeting with President Trump or millions in military aid unless he announced certain investigations.
The statement should include specific reference to Burisma and 2016.
By this point, it was clear that Burisma was code for the Bidens.
Who is Dr. Fiona Hill? Dr. Hill is our country and perhaps the world's expert on Putin. She literally wrote the book on Vladimir Putin. She has served under 3 presidents with nonpartisan expertise.
A Ukrainian delegation visiting the White House was informed of the ultimatum by U.S. Ambassador to the EU, Gordon Sondland.
He was being involved in a domestic political errand, and we were being involved in national security foreign policy, and those two things had just diverged. I did say to him, Ambassador Sondland, Gordon, I think this is all going to blow up, and here we are.
Half a world away in Ukraine, embassy official David Holmes overheard a conversation between Sondland and Mr. Trump a couple weeks later.
I then heard President Trump ask, so he's going to do the investigation. Ambassador Sondland replied that he's going to do it, adding that President Zelensky will do anything you ask him to do.
Hill is a Russia expert and warned that the Ukraine controversy is playing right into Putin's hands.
We have a very clear narrative that's supported by the White House's own call summary, the president's own words. This is not something that's made up, that he asked or demanded, and some witnesses said, that the Ukrainian president issue a statement about investigations into the Bidens and into the 2016, the debunked notion that Ukraine interfered in the 2016 election, and that he did that in order to entrench his own power. There was no legitimate public policy rationale for that that we saw. So we have here using the power of the office to entrench his own power and doing so at risk of our national security, doing so in a way that actually undermines the interests of the United States. So if
the point that the Republicans are making, which is the testimony that we heard over the course of the last couple of days, does not directly implicate the president of the United States. No one spoke to the president that testified before Congress where they said the president directed me to do this.
And all the witnesses said this was at the directive of Rudy Giuliani, and the president told me, talk to Rudy Giuliani. So we'd have to sort of believe this really disconnect, this notion that Rudy Giuliani was not actually in contact with the president. Rudy Giuliani was a linchpin, and everyone testified that came through the president.
But the reality of it is that the people who were in contact with the president, the Secretary of State Pompeo, Mick Mulvaney's chief of staff, they're not allowed to talk, or at least the White House has told them not to talk. There's also Rudy Giuliani. He's a private attorney. I don't know if he's under the same obligation.